Hey, what's up? This is Steve Cardenas, aka Rocky the Red Power Ranger, Jeff Brazzo, Frank Fernandez Mercer from Battle Thunder, and you are watching Team Venom.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 9 of Team Venom's Power Ranger podcast. I'm your host, Rory Bailey, joined by two co-hosts in Guy Jessup Braithwaite and Callista Valentine.
Hello.
We've got a very special returning guest in Ron Wasserman, who was the composer of pretty much all of the cool themes from Power Rangers. If you've heard a cool theme from it, Ron's the guy. So, Ron, firstly, thank you for coming back. It's great to have you on again.
Thanks for having me.
No, you're more than welcome, and it's just awesome that we get to chat to you. So, for the first question, I'm going to throw you over to Guy, because I know he enjoyed the previous one and had a few different questions from there. So Guy.
Hi, Ron. It's great to have you on here. Quick question about the Power Rangers Redux album, because I'm a huge fan of that.
Thank you.
So I was just wondering about how you why you approached it, why you went back to it, a few technical things maybe.
Well, I wanted to see if I could still sing like that because I hadn't done it since 2005 on SPD. So 2012 came up, and I just wanted to see if I still had that sound.
Yes,
and
you do.
So I did a verse and a chorus for the theme, and I said, it sounds the same. And so I said, I'm going to go ahead and recut the theme because it had never been put out without dialogue or sound effects. And so one thing led to another. And the next thing I recut everything that I wanted to and could. And I was pretty happy with it. It took about 2 months.
Wow. Oh, wow. That's quick, though.
Yeah, but I think I was scoring a couple shows during it. So, I would do it in my spare time.
Oh, yeah.
Fun. Get my angst going.
Well, it's a bloody great album. It's got to be said.
Thanks.
If I had to niggle on one thing, maybe it would have been great to hear it with real drums.
Yeah, that would have been good, but drummers are a pain in the ass. So screw it.
Yeah, that's very true. I can attest to that.
Yeah. Oh, that's why I learned how to play everything. It's from dealing with musicians over the years. Drummers are the worst. They always showed up to gigs with the band or whatever. Like, okay, you ready to go? I didn't have time to listen. Here, play it for me. And they pull out their whatever, and you're like, God, dude, come on. Yeah. So it's faster to
chew my
do it.
drums up, man.
Plus that original stuff, it was fake drums, and they're kind of fun.
Oh yeah, I mean it still sounds great. Don't get me wrong.
And I mean, even when they recorded the theme for the first movie, and Matt Sorum was the drummer, I had heard, which I've known Matt forever. I haven't spoken to him in a while, but they had to slow stuff down because there's no way. Not many drummers can go at that speed. They should have brought in some sort of death metal guy to do it,
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, would have been better.
Nothing against Mr. Sorum, though, because Jesus.
Could have been a bad day. Oh, that guy's got chops.
Who did you have on guitar? Because whoever that is has got some serious chops as well.
Rich? Oh, no. I'm going to forget his name because that's the one day we worked together. I have to look it up. It's going to kill me. name is. I'm going to Facebook. I got to look up his name. Oh, this is terrible. What a terrible. Oh no! How could I do this? Naturally loading slowly.
Yeah.
Oh no. You know what? I'm gonna have to look it up. It would take me 5 minutes to find
Yeah,
it.
cool. It's something
Feel like
I
an
probably do
asshole.
research myself, you know.
I must have put his name somewhere. Oh,
But
God.
whoever it is, that man can
Yeah,
play.
he was great. He came in and we did everything in one day. I mean, I had all the rhythm stuff, but he had actually had all of his work done ahead of time. So we just cranked out those solos and everything.
Yeah.
But he plays like his speed is just unbelievable.
Awesome. Awesome. That's what you want in the studio, though, isn't it? Let's face it.
Yeah. Wanted to get through it. So, and he plugged in direct. So that was all run through amp simulators.
Oh yeah, cool. Oh, I love that. Anyone else? Because I'm getting really granular and geeky here, so you're probably losing the audience.
Cali?
Hey, Rory.
Okay, I'll go next. Earlier on, I've been looking through like your kind of back catalogue, Ron, and I've seen there's actually quite a few video games that have popped up on there.
Yeah, I did those back in the 90s after Saban.
Yeah.
That was my first regular gig. I was working with a company called Seventh Level, and it was run by two guys, a guy named Scotty Page, who played saxophone for Pink Floyd, and a guy named Bob Ezrin, who produced The Wall and a bunch of other Pink Floyd stuff. And they started this gaming company and had me come in. And I think I started maybe with Tamaguchi, and then did Ace Ventura, and then a couple Monty Python titles. And then there were a couple of other things I did too, something maybe called Battle Beast. And then they went bankrupt, and that was the end of that.
Oh dear.
Yeah, it was like a 2-year party. So fun.
I mean, was there any differences kind of producing music for video games as opposed to producing music for TV shows and other things?
Well, it certainly was back then.
Process?
Well, back then it absolutely was, because everything was on CD-ROMs. And so where now I could, I can write anything I want and deliver it full quality. Back then they'd say, okay, you need to score this part, but you only have in general MIDI, meaning it'll trigger the sound card in a PC, you only have 15 kilobytes. So score this, because that's all the memory we have available for you. And there would be times I'd send it in, they'd go, it's 13, you only have room for 12, so figure out what to cut where and make the file smaller.
Yeah.
So that was a challenge. Plus we're limited to 128 horrible sounds.
Oh.
So you had to be very creative. On the good side, you didn't spend a day searching for one sound that was perfect. You had this choice and that's it. Couple drum kits, couple bass, It was fun though.
I can imagine. Sort of having almost like like an artist having a restricted palette. It kind of forces you to work within the confines that you're in, and you still produce something just as good.
Right. Here's 6 crayons, draw something.
Yeah, exactly.
On a canvas this big.
Yeah. Canvas the size of a postage stamp, and it's got to be a Picasso.
And then now, of course, everything is, there's no limit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
No limits at all. So much better.
Yes. Rory, you kind of zoned out there, mate.
Yeah, no, I was listening. There's a slight delay on mine, I think. So sorry. Yeah, so don't know. Last time we briefly mentioned your band Fisher, and some of the stuff that you did, because you mentioned about how you had your record deal after you'd done all your TV stuff. When I was having a look through some of your discography online, I downloaded a few albums and such of Fisher, and what I thought was quite cool in a full circle sort of way is how you started in TV, the tunes and such, and then you did your albums, and then lots of TV programs looked at your albums and went, that music's great. I need this in my show. So you ended up in things like Smallville and Bones and
Yeah,
all sorts of stuff. And I
it was
mean,
tons.
it's like really quite amazing the sheer amount of stuff that you've done in general. But were you expecting Fish to have that sort of level of success?
Well, we were hoping, of course, that it would explode. I mean, all the indicators were there. We had this piano vocal ballad called I Will Love You, which is why we got signed, because it was the most downloaded thing on the internet. So CNN and Time Magazine came to us, everybody. So the labels couldn't ignore us at that point. So anyways, the album comes out, it gets released. This lead song gets leaked to a station in San Diego. They play it and it lights up the phones. And so next thing I know, we're down in San Diego and our release date gets pushed from February of maybe 2001, I think it was, or 2000 back to November of, let's just say November 2000. And that's the kiss of death back then, because all the big artists release their stuff in November to get everybody's Christmas money.
Yeah.
So they released it early, but it was doing incredibly well on radio. It was picking up steam a little bit in Europe, but it was doing great from the Mississippi East in the US. But the problem was the CDs were selling out immediately. So we'd be playing these big crowds. We'd take over. We learned how to take over top 40 radio. You usually get about 5 minutes, but they didn't know that Kathy and I were married. And so I learned early on, it just happened one day. They said, what's it like being on the road with Fisher? And I just said, slut. And so they were all laughing their asses off. And so we took over from 5 minutes, and then we'd start getting up to an hour, hour and a half. We just had this banter between us. And then we'd play a song and make more jokes about it. And they were used to everybody walking in and being so, oh yeah, well, I wrote this for being so serious and so artsy. And we're like, it's all for fun, all fun. We're having fun. So it did that, but we couldn't, the CDs sold out. So I hired a marketing gal to do research and hand it to the label saying, we can't get the CD, we can't get the CD. And they said, this isn't true. And so when the deal came up for the second album, I terminated it, which probably shocked them a little bit. I'll never know. I just remember speaking to my then lawyer and saying, kill the deal. There's no sense in going back at this point.
Yeah, I can see the sense of that.
All they had to do was acknowledge it. And then the day it ended, I started licensing the stuff on my own. I was getting calls left and right. It was great.
Wow.
Oh,
It worked out.
At one point, at one point, you had 5 songs in the top 5 as well, didn't you? With most downloaded, which I saw was just like one of the the biggest achievements you could get. Really, it's a top 5 chart, and all of them are you.
Yeah, and I think I Will Love You sat there for over a year at the #1 position at mp3.com. It was great. It was nice to see the future coming. And then, of course, as I don't know if I mentioned it last time, I told Jimmy Iovine and Doug Morris. Jimmy Iovine heads Interscope, Doug had Universal. They asked me what the future would be, and I said 99-cent singles, because nobody wants to blow $18 on a CD anymore with one good song and a bunch of trash. And they said, it'll never happen in our life. And fast forward a few years, and they're walking in on their knees to Apple, please.
That reminds me of a Blockbuster turning around and saying, "Oh, Netflix, that'll never catch on."
Oh, I'm sure whoever said no, or that group of people, I'm sure they wake up every morning and say, "I wouldn't be living in this apartment."
I'm sorry, my cat keeps interrupting.
Oh, I think it's cute.
Oh,
What's his name?
Hendrix. Guess who named it?
Hendrix. Hi, Hendrix. Got anything
Hello,
to say?
Mr. Wasserman. Right, you go away.
He's got a remarkably close voice to yours.
Funny though, isn't it?
Just a little squeakier.
They do that.
Ah,
I have a question.
Sure.
Ronald, it seems from listening to your work, you've got an excellent pop sensibility. I take it that, you know, Beatles, all the major pop things were a big influence on you.
Oh yeah, especially Elton John, the piano player. So I
Oh, yeah, I love Elton.
I knew everything he did when I was a kid. And then I would also work out all these progressive rock bands, like big Genesis fan,
Ah, yeah, yeah.
and then and Black Sabbath. So it was a very well-rounded exposure. I didn't stick in one genre at all. And I think that kind of confused people because we'd be in the car and I'd have like an 8-track of Rhapsody in Blue,
Yeah.
and then pop in Jethro Tull, and then put in Black Sabbath, and then tune to a classical station. So I was all over the map.
Awesome. Yeah, I was sort of listening to the Redux album and things like Sweet Valley High soundtrack. It's bloody brilliant work. I mean, the Sweet Valley High theme for me is a perfect piece of just power pop.
Yeah.
It is definitely the only thing that bothers me today is all the reverb. It's kind of it's a bit of a wash, but I wish it would be so great to have those tracks and redo them a little bit. But all that stuff's long gone. And that is that's a singer from Fisher on that. I had to beg her to do that because everything at Saban was a buyout. So
yeah,
I said, please come in. I can't remember. Maybe she made $100 singing it or something, but that ignited her. After Sweet Valley High came out, I got called by an ad agency and they said, do you know who the singer is? So I hooked them up, and she had her first big national commercial about a month later. And then she had almost a 10-year run where she was just on fire with commercials. We did 300 spots together. Wow. She probably did another 200 with other people.
Wow, she's got a great voice.
Great voice. Great. So even when we were signed, we had a really big commercial for Hyundai out here, which they used for 3 years. And that was kind of paying the bills while we were signed, because you don't make shit when you get signed at first.
Oh, wow.
So it was quite the adventure having all that stuff going on at the same time.
I can imagine. So much, and we're sort of keeping it on point because Jason David Frank was in Sweet Valley High. Aha.
Yes.
That's the Power Rangers link there.
I am on brand.
It's all in universe, didn't you know?
Ah, there you go.
He probably owed Saban a few extra hours. Said, all right, go over on Sweet Valley High. You're not in the script. Go make an appearance over there. It was a good show. It did well.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's the Wasserverse. That's what I'm calling it. Copyright.
Yeah, it was a lot of places at the same time. You could have the trademark.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Looking at the list of things you've done, the one that kind of jumped out at me was like, wow, I'm quite surprised by that, is Technoman from 1995. Whenever I've mentioned that to anyone, even like big anime fans, are like, I don't really know that one. I remember watching it on Fox Kids, and it was like kind of my gateway into anime. It hit me around age 10, and I was just like, I love this. The theme music, the animation, the story, just, I'm there. So
yeah, it's odd. I don't remember that much about it, but I actually, it's something I forgot about, and I think it came up at IMDb, and I went and checked it out, and I just went, oh yeah, I remember doing that now. It was just because there's this vast amount of work.
Well, when you do as much as you do, I can imagine you lose track of a few things. You
forget it and get on to the next day. It was just a matter of just cranking at this enormous speed.
Yeah, definitely.
So when people will say, you remember in episode 4, season 1, when, and they'll bring it up, I'm like,
yeah, maybe.
Tell me about it. You could tell with my memory, I even forgot the guitar player.
Well, there
Oh.
you go.
It's gonna come to me.
Not related to your career as such, but I'm just out of curiosity now because you were saying that you're a fan of like Black Sabbath and Jethro Tull, who were two of my favourite bands. So just out of curiosity, what are your favourite tracks by them?
Oh well, War Pigs
Yes.
Fair enough.
and Locomotive. Is it called Locomotive?
Locomotive Breath.
Yeah,
Similar sort of
Locomotive
vibes
Breath.
to it as well, to be fair. So,
and that super dry, tight, do 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 do. I mean, it's just so pure and clean, as opposed to Black Sabbath, which was also very punchy, but buried in a lot of LSD, I guess.
Among other things, I'm sure.
No,
Yeah.
more weed heads. Oh, weed heads.
Yeah, I think back then. And then the Elton John stuff, as it goes through the 80s, the high end is getting brighter and brighter, just because when everybody in studio, and this is why so many of those albums, like the hi-hats and whatnot, get so bright, is because cocaine wrecks your high end in hearing. So they're in the mix and they're pushing those sounds. Then they went out in the word, you're like, what is, ow.
wow.
Secrets of the music industry revealed on Power Rangers podcast.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Coke makes you use more hi-hats. The reason not to do it.
And those cymbals. Yeah. But yeah, that Black Sabbath stuff, I'm sure I lost a percentage of my hearing in my car just blasting that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Couldn't have done it at home. My dad would have like, why aren't you listening to the news?
The first ever concert I went to was the 2001 show in Milton Keynes, where it was the very original lineup of Black Sabbath, four of them, and it was the last time they played together. So when they did the reunion a few years after that, they had a different drummer because Bill Ward had stopped playing at that point. So
Yeah.
I can genuinely go, I was at the last show of the proper lineup. So yeah, mega fan of
Yeah,
it.
it's weird when they replace a band member.
Yeah.
It's always strange. I mean, the Stones right now, it's got to be odd for them.
Oh, God,
Yeah, definitely.
Got to be,
Yeah, without
really
Charlie.
strange.
Queen.
Can't go without Charlie.
Like
No,
Queen without Freddie.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
Queen without Freddie and John Deacon.
Good point. Good point.
yeah.
AC/DC did it the other year where Brian Johnson could know it was going deaf, so they replaced him with Axl Rose, which was just strange.
Yeah. Okay.
Seriously, it's a genuine thing. It's bizarre.
Bringing it back round to Power Rangers.
There we go.
Power Rangers podcast. If you were to do a track for Power Rangers now, like if it was sort of a remake version of Mighty Morphin, would you, if you were asked to do the theme song, one, would you do it? And two, what would you do with it?
Well, I would go back to. I'd have to be SPD and Energy, and I think I could probably do that now. But I would go back and just make it even if it was for a new series, I'd make it a little bit harder. And I think this time definitely bring in like real drums and everything and just, then later on when they want a million edits, that becomes a problem because you can't capture that exact sound. That's one of the things in television. You'll finish something, they'll say, now extend it. If you use a real drummer, unless you've got that kid sitting there mic'd up exactly, now it's going to sound different. Somebody's going to say, I don't know, there's something different. You're going to go through that hell. That's one of the advantages to doing everything in the box, with samples and whatnot. But I would definitely go back to the rock thing hardcore and try to outdo myself as I always did.
Awesome.
And hopefully one of these days Hasbro comes to their fucking senses and gives me a call.
They need to.
Why they don't want to, why they just keep recycling the same crap.
Yeah. I can I can agree with you on that one.
I mean, it's not, the stuff isn't bad.
No.
It's catchy, but you just picture them saying, "Oh, I know who can sing this," and the guy comes in, you can practically hear that he's reading the lyrics. It just doesn't have a real true, it's just not real. It's packaged themes.
There's no belief behind it. There's no belief behind what he's singing.
I mean, there could have, the themes I've written, there's 50 other guys that could have done it, but they would have brought in session players that wouldn't have that real sincerity of really believing in what you're actually singing. Same with all those songs, as I mentioned last time, they all have stories behind them.
Exactly.
They're not just crap being pushed out, or like a Toyota commercial I did, which was their biggest commercial, with a song called Beautiful Life. It's a song I wrote to my kid about taking him to, he was like 1, and I was talking about what it's all about, the day I'll be able to take him to Disneyland. I didn't write for the commercial, I wrote for him, so it sounds sincere and real.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, exactly.
I think music should be, no matter what music you're producing, no matter what you're doing it for, if you can't connect to it in some way as a writer, it's just going to come across as bland and boring because you're not interested. If you're not interested, the music itself is uninteresting.
Yeah, that's most of the charts these days.
Background noise. Yeah, like most of the charts these days. So yeah, I completely get what you're saying there, Ron. Definitely, I completely agree on that one.
And that part you can't make up or pretend. It's either there or it's not.
Yeah,
that's it. And that's what happens. And that's one of the reasons why bands that have been around forever and they put out a new album, it may be really hooky, but it never takes off like the old stuff, because when they were old and they were hungry and they're suffering and they were, it's not even an energy thing. They still have that, but it just has a different vibe. The new stuff is just a little bit more thought out, a little bit, it's just not the same.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about the big bands, and that's only because there's just no way to recapture that suffering in your life once they're worth $400 million and they've had 40 years of everybody going, "Oh my God, it's you. Oh my God, it's you."
Yeah.
You can't go, I'm gonna sing a song about suffering, not that they don't, but it's just a different vibe.
I think the band that stands out most for me with that, like sort of like you saying, like
you're about to say Metallica.
No. They start their career by singing about one thing, and then when they end up being, the big shots that they are, kind of makes those other songs kind of seem redundant. And for me, that band has always been Good Charlotte. Their breakthrough song, "Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous," he married Paris Hilton. Need I say more?
No.
It's like, we hate the rich. I'm marrying one. It just seemed like sell out. Hello.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a very funny example.
It's a very true one.
Yeah. Well, they end up in those circles. They're like, "I don't care what I wrote about. I'm going to marry Paris Hilton."
Exactly.
And then they have the best 4 weeks of their life.
Yeah. There you go.
And there it goes.
Oh dear. One of the things that I asked you about on the last time you were on was the X-Men theme, and you mentioned that you hadn't seen anything about the thing. They just gave you rough directions for how you wanted it to be, and then you pretty much had it just knocked straight out, which is awesome for saying how great it is. Have you ever watched it back to admire sort of how they've put it together with your music?
Oh, you mean the main title opening? I have seen it many times. It was great.
It is like the most memorable thing about that show, which is amazing. So
yeah, they cut it so well. I mean, it was just great. They had so much animation to pull from already. And I just thought the thing just moved. Whoever did it actually had a great sense for what was going on musically. Instead of just cutting the beats, they were really paying attention. So that editor, I have no idea who it was. Hopefully they went on to work with Spielberg.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah, it was great editing.
There's a question about that. Well, as soon as the X-Men's now on Disney Plus,
Oh yeah.
residuals run.
No, those Saban days were buyouts.
Damn.
Oh.
That was getting paid to go to college. So your option was, and this goes on everywhere in the business.
I can imagine.
A lot of people get in. I have friends that have worked with Hans Zimmer and whatnot. I mean, that's just,
Oh.
that's how it goes. And then you work your way up. And yeah, so almost everything except the songs and some score here and there on Power Rangers and whatnot. I mean, they own all the rights and collect everything from it.
Bastards.
It would have been nice.
Oh yeah.
It would have been a slightly different lifestyle.
Yeah, that would be the gift that keeps giving.
Yeah, last I heard that Power Rangers themes generated about 230 million.
Whoa.
And all the deviations that they've done of it since as well, where they've gone, right, okay, this season we're just gonna put a pause in there and yell Dino Charge or whatever in the middle.
Yeah, exactly.
Of it. It's 28 years on and it's still the go-to for them, which is pretty damn impressive.
It is impressive, but you know, there should have been several that were that powerful and could have changed, even if you threw in just a little taste for 1 second if you have to, but which I don't get. It's not even necessary, but it's just because ultimately they can't come up with something better or something that's you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They have to keep recycling.
Whereas at least with the ones that you were on, you went from Mighty Morphin to Zeo, and it all sort of evolved naturally for a while, and then to Turbo and such, and it all sort of fit with the themes for a while.
Yeah.
And then after you'd left and such, it was like they just went, let's be lazy with it and throw in a name.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just well, yeah, I think I don't know who was doing it. It was mainly probably Noam Canio and Kenny Burgomaster. I don't know if he wrote any of the theme stuff, but it just started getting whooshy, poppy,
Yeah.
oogie, smooth, squash.
Soulless.
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to go there, but
Oh, I will.
yeah, go. I know you. I could tell.
I have no problem with that.
You draw the line, Guy will not only cross it, he will pole vault over it.
Yeah. No, I'm the battering ram that destroys the line.
Good.
Sets it on fire afterwards.
Oh,
Okay,
Yeah,
Guy.
Well, yeah, I mean, after that, yeah, one question. If Hasbro do come to their senses, can I play bass?
Sure.
Hey, cool.
We get it in. You're fast. You're fast.
Oh. Yeah, fast fingerstyle.
Good. Because
But I can do pick as well.
even to this day, this fake bass is still doesn't work as well.
No, it does not. Totally agree.
That's because every single note you hit has all these little differentiations in them that just everything is different.
Yeah, that's the juice of me.
You just can't say, sorry, I was too drunk to do it last night. My system's broken. I had to go somewhere. My car broke down. My finger hurts.
Yeah. No, we don't like fake bass. Leaning in the studio is an Fender P. You're there.
Yeah, plus it's things have changed a lot, but not quite enough.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Some of the orchestral stuff, though, I have to admit that I hear is pretty damn close to the real thing. That line's really blurred.
Cool, man.
It's also the type of scoring. They're not doing Star Wars themes. Nobody could knock that off with samples these days.
No.
Yeah,
John Williams remains the man.
He's the last great composer.
Mm.
He just sits there and writes all the parts out, plays some stuff, but writes out everything for an 85-piece orchestra out of his head, straight to paper, then goes in and hears it.
Yeah.
Nobody does that.
Yeah. Well, the man, bless him.
Yeah.
Someone who does deserve residuals. Oh, yeah, that's him.
Yeah. I think I went online one to check his net worth, and they put it at 100 million. And I went, what, a month? With what that guy's done? Oh my gosh. Good for him.
Mm. Anyone else?
Cali, do you want to go for the last question? Because I've just noticed the time and
Yeah,
Ron's.
again, I'm just looking through the list of things you've done, Ron, and I mean, there's some great variations here. SpongeBob Squarepants.
Yeah, that was fun.
Oh, that's a tune.
Retired at 35.
Oh, Retired at 35 was a horrid sitcom. Horrid. We would actually watch them shoot it, a friend and I, and they had some really funny stuff in it. Then we get the cut, and they removed the
All
funny
fun
stuff.
Yeah.
To the point of where I went to the president of the network and I said, just out of curiosity, is this a tax write-off? I mean, what are you guys doing? And the funniest part is the lead actor was this, he was a nice guy. I can't remember his name. He was about 35, very, very white guy, but he thought he was this rapper. So I had to write some track, which nobody ever heard. I had to write this rap thing for him. And I was just and I thought it was a gag. So I'm like, this is pretty funny. And they're like, shut the fuck up. This isn't, he really believes he's a rapper. I'm like, no.
Awkward.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, he was about as bad as my Mystic Force rap.
oh God.
If that's an indicator for you.
I think it might be.
Just because you can talk with a rhythm doesn't mean you can rap.
Mhm.
You should tell that to William Shatner.
Oh, yeah. His old stuff, Lucy in the Sky,
Oh,
where his poetry stuff. I mean, that's almost, you wonder. I met him once, and I want to say that was a comedy album, right? But then I thought he's going to transport me off to space. Oh, he goes in space this week, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
he's got to sing Rocket Man while he's up there.
Oh, he's got to.
Oh yeah.
Rocket Man.
When he
Oh,
comes
that'll
back,
be-
we should all wear Planet of the Apes masks just to freak him the fuck out.
Of the entire planet, does it?
Yeah.
Get the entire planet in on the world's biggest practical joke.
That would be brilliant. I remember years ago when John Glenn was, I think he was 80 and he went up in space, and I was listening to Howard Stern, who was at the time when Howard Stern was very edgy, and he said, Houston, we have a prostate problem.
You're a
Kind of mean.
re-entry.
Oh dear.
I'm sorry.
No, that was good. That was good.
Well, you know, the shape of that rocket, re-entry could be a thing.
Oh dear.
It's that line again.
Sorry.
It's okay, carry on.
Not sorry.
Thank you very much for joining us again. It's been awesome, and
Been fun.
obviously open invitation for whenever you want to join us again. More than happy to have you on
Excellent.
as often as you like.
It's always fun.
We salute you, sir.
Thank you very much.